Welcome to Slow and Steady, the podcast where you get to follow along as we figure out how to run and build a SaaS. That was totally the wrong order, but whatever.
You're still Benedikt. And I'm Brian. Each week we'll give you an honest peek into our lives as we work on our products and keep the lights on by eating leftovers. Today is December the 1st, and I'm feeling great.
This is episode number 68, and I'm feeling fried.
Fried.
Yeah. You're eating the leftovers, and I'm the fried turkey.
we had a joke over Thanksgiving that anytime you hear fire truck sirens on Thanksgiving, you know somebody tried to fry a turkey in their garage. Don't do it. Rarely ends well. What are you so worn down from, man?
Just didn't sleep well tonight. We talked about this before we recorded, but just before I started the recording. But I'm thinking about too many things lately, and again, same thing as always. I fall asleep okay, but then I wake up in the middle of the night and just start thinking about stuff subconsciously, and wake up from it, and then my mind is going, and I have trouble falling back asleep. And the downside of this is now that I'm awake and sitting in front of the computer, supposed to think about stuff. It's really hard to think about, like, to form a clear thought and be like do good work basically. So,
man, sleep is definitely, gosh, it's just that thing that I suppose because we just, when you're younger, you can just get by, you get by on such little sleep, and you have a deep well of energy to pull from that you really don't really appreciate how important sleep is until you just find yourself in the not making a good habit of it. How many times per week would you say you wake up in the middle of the night thinking?
Right now it happens almost every night.
Is it always about Userlist, or is it just like a combination of all your responsibilities going around in your head?
Yeah, most of the time it's about Userlist stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
And I mean, there's a pattern, like, depends on how the day is going and how much either worrying or exciting stuff I've been doing throughout the day and in the evening. That definitely has a negative effect on my sleep. On a weekend, it's a little bit better because I'm just like not that much into the work setting. So I probably just like be more diligent about, like, at some point, maybe at 8 p.m. or so, just turn everything off, put everything away, and not think about work. But it's hard. Like, it's super hard.
It is really hard. It's really hard.
Yeah. Especially...
Good.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to ask if you use any sort of... have you ever tried to use a sleep tracker and, see what diet, exercise, time of...
No, I haven't used any of that. I use, like, there's the iPhone does something, like, by default, probably tracking when you last picked it up and what time you're picking it up again in the morning to try to guess how good you're sleeping or how well you're sleeping. But other than that, I don't do anything. I'm not entirely sure if it would be helpful to do it because it's very obvious that it's mostly work related. So
you don't really need an Apple Watch to tell you that you're not sleeping well right now.
Yeah, exactly. I am awake. I noticed that I'm not sleeping well.
Man.
Yeah, it's tough, but well, that's how it is. I mean, the other part would be to just, like, try to walk away earlier from stuff and, like, not dive into conversations late at night about something business related. But unfortunately, the world is a globe and there are time zones, and I'm living on one side of the globe, and a couple of people on the other side, and so my evenings are usually filled with conversations here and there. And last night I had an interesting conversation with a customer that inspired some thinking, and
that's what I was going to ask is, I would imagine is the majority of your user base in the US, or half and half, or what's the split?
I don't have exact numbers because we don't really track that, but I guess it's at least half of it, but probably even more of that. Like it's like from like traffic to our website, the US is by far the biggest source of traffic.
So a lot of those conversations that you are having in the evening are with customers, not necessarily with
like customers or even
network,
people in my network, friends. Unfortunately, they're all spread out. So and sometimes I try to stay away from it and just like not engage in anything. But like as I said, like last night's conversation was interesting and got something out of it. And my mind kept noodling on it for the rest of the night.
Yeah, that's it feels like a hard one to solve and a really important one, because I don't think it's realistic to say, one day Userlist will be at 25K MRR and you won't have all of these worries until you'll be sleeping better then.
Yeah. Maybe not. My hope right now is
it'll just be a different class. It'll just be a different type of stack of problems that you're trying to solve, don't you think?
Probably, but I think like right now there's this urgency attached to everything, because we're not default alive. We are burning money, and there is a end of cash date, and it's constantly coming closer, and that just adds urgency to everything, and that elevates like all those problems or thoughts, or me trying to find solutions for stuff, because it might affect like revenue and things like that just like adds so much more pressure to it. And I think that's the thing that I'm struggling with lately, because there's always been hard stuff to solve, or maybe just like sometimes I don't sleep well because I'm just too excited about a new thing. Like sometimes you build a new feature and a few pieces fall into place, and you realize the opportunities ahead of you, and sometimes that just has a negative effect on my sleep. But recently it's more like, as I said, like I think I'm not moving fast enough, and I have to figure this out, or we have to figure this out, and stuff like that. And that just doesn't make it a pleasant situation to be in. My hope is that if we become profitable of sorts, it will remove some of that pressure again. We see.
Yeah, it's interesting that your sleep, not you specifically, but one, that sleep can be negatively affected because your hair's on fire, and you're stressed out, or because you're really excited about something, and so you want to work until 2 a.m. And neither are sustainable.
And usually you regret it the day after.
We at Macavo, the previous startup I was at, we got into this thing where on either every or most, Wednesday or Thursday nights, I kind of forget. I think it was Thursday nights. We would all just stay at the office and plan on just being up there super duper late. And I know that for some, VC backed startups, that's just like, business as usual. That was not the case for us. We would work relatively normal hours. But then, one night a week we would, order pizza at dinner. Everybody would stay up. Each team would kind of pick a moonshot or a project that they wanted to work on, and you were just super excited about working on it deep into the night. And of course, Friday. I mean, that meant that Friday was shot. Everybody came in late, and you didn't plan to do any amazing work on Friday. But I really think that doing it that way for a short period of time, no question, that is not a sustainable way to run a business and for people to operate. But for a short period of time, I think it was a net gain, because it was like the team building around it. You just you get all of this momentum on one particular day, which you're just kind of trading for the next day. I loved it. There was that was the aspect of, this is not good for my sleep, but it feels like we're going somewhere, and you are just kind of pushing through. So yeah, that's just something that came to mind as you're talking about, like, feeling excited about something and wanting to stay up, and it, it affecting your sleep in that way. Obviously, the other thing, waking up in the middle of the night and your brain's churning on all these stressors, that's a definite negative.
Yeah. And it's not necessarily stressors in the sense that, oh my God, we're running out of money. We're going to have to shut down the company. It's more like thinking about solutions, like maybe we can do this, or maybe we can do that. And if you do this, maybe you do it that way. So in a way, it's also a little bit of excitement, but it's just not sustainable, I guess.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, anything specific you want to update us on? What's happening over there?
We have we actually hit a good milestone. When was it? 2 days ago? Yeah, we hit 5K MRR finally. Yeah. It feels like we should celebrate it, but we don't feel like celebrating right now because because of all I said right now. It's not, at this stage, it's not default alive, and not we cannot just like stop working on it and it will be fine. Like taking a month off isn't an option right now.
Yeah, right.
And also feels like it took us way too long to get to 5K MRR. We're just joking about this earlier with Jane. When we started working on Userlist in, I think it was end of October 2017, we teamed up and made plans, and it was basically so we're going to do everything super scrappy until we validated the idea, and validation will be once we hit 5K MRR. And we expect to hit that in 6 months to a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And surprise, it didn't work that way.
only off by a couple 100%.
Yeah, only
but,
like three times that long.
Yeah.
And looking back at it, I mean, in the early days, like, we were consulting on the side, so we just didn't make enough progress, and things just took way longer than expected.
Right.
I think we launched 1.5 years after that, like in when was it? 2019, August 2019. And the funny thing is, when we launched it a couple of days after, and I might even have mentioned this on the podcast, I was like, okay, so a year from now, we have to be at 5K. Otherwise, all of this doesn't make any sense. And surprise, a year after, we were not at 5K.
Yeah.
But luckily, it only took like 3 more months now. And now we finally made it, at least for now. Hopefully nobody cancels.
Well, I mean, hopefully it'll continue to, sort of tick along. Is the growth rate? I mean, are the candid conversations like with between yourselves and with mentors and everything, is the growth rate, I mean, it's obviously not as big as you would hope and would want,
Yeah.
of course, but is it in some sort of, range of, well, yeah, this is on the low side, but, stick at it, or is it this may not be good, y'all?
Yeah, it's definitely at this is not good at
Okay.
all. Like,
Yeah. Okay.
like looking at our current expenses, and yes, we pay us good salaries and stuff like that, mainly because well, at least having peace of mind on the personal finances.
Yeah.
We're paying us deliberately a decent salary,
Yep.
even though we can't technically afford it. But looking at like expenses, our salaries, and like just what we need to operate a business, and looking at the growth rate, we will run out of money before we will be, before it will
Default alive.
would be default alive.
Okay.
And it's not even close.
Okay.
To be honest, I don't even know the exact timeline, but it's way longer than we have money in the bank. And that just means we have to figure something out to get us at least closer to it. I mean, not entirely sure about Jane's finances, but if Userlist runs out of money, we can probably figure something out, like either put some money in ourselves or do some consulting, stop
taking a salary,
stop paying salaries and stuff like that. And like without our salaries, I think it would be paying its expensive and maybe even making a little bit of money. So in theory, we could just like stop right now and it would keep on running. But then we would have to do something else like consulting or
then you're not full time on it anymore.
Not full time on it anymore. So yeah. But as I said, that just like puts up the pressure.
Okay. So the major levers you could start to pull on. I mean, it definitely sounds like one of them, finding the right channels and marketing and advertising. You've all invested you invested time and money both into that.
Yeah.
And seems like it didn't unlock the box.
No, that didn't work. I mean, already said it a couple of times, so we haven't made any progress on this. Like there's a chance that we just did it wrong and that we just didn't pick the right keywords and stuff like that. But it also looks like that the product isn't quite there yet in terms of product market fit. Like something is off and the value proposition isn't quite right. And we're currently booking calls with people to just to get in more conversations with potential customers and try to figure out what's wrong and then trying to fix that soonish. I mean, we're still
immediately.
We're still making progress on the company's tracking feature. We want to do like integrations as a new feature and also as a marketing channel. That's still on the roadmap, but very shortly after we get all of those done in a very basic version, we have to figure out what do we have to change. Like, probably doesn't have to be a pivot because I don't think it's that far off, but it definitely isn't. The offering isn't valuable enough, and it's not a hell yes for people to just like look at the product and be like, okay, this sounds exactly like what I need and it will solve all my problems.
What makes you say that you don't think it's very far off?
Because we get customers and we have customers who like the product and are happy with the product. So it can provide value. It just like maybe isn't providing enough value to everyone, or it's not obvious enough. So yeah, that's what we're trying to figure out. Like, there are a couple there are a lot of people who know about the product, and at least from our perspective, would be good customers, but for some reason they are not considering it, and that's the thing we have to figure out.
Do you have a sense of the people who use and love the product, and are telling you that? Do you have a sense of what they were using before?
I think most people were not using anything before that, and some switched from ConvertKit, which wasn't like a good fit for just a SaaS use case.
Mm-hmm.
Some switched from Intercom just because it got too expensive. But I think most people just started using it from without switching from anything. Maybe switching from doing it manually, but my suspicion is that not even that is true.
What do you like? Oh, that
they were not.
They just weren't doing anything at all.
They were not doing anything at all. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's pretty interesting. Yeah, that would be something really interesting to dig into. Is if most of your happiest customers weren't doing anything at all, but you're not growing fast enough, then trying to find more non-consumers is probably not the answer. It's how are we not differentiated enough from the existing solutions? People who are currently handing over money.
Yeah.
Why aren't they switching?
I guess, and that's something that came up in conversations with especially with mentors and advisors, is that right now Userlist solves a problem, but it doesn't have a unique angle. Like, you can solve the same problem with a bunch of other tools, and that just doesn't make it super appealing. Like, it's just one of those other tools, and it doesn't really matter which one you pick, because you don't get an advantage by picking Userlist. And now it's a question of what can we change, or what can you add to be to have a unique angle.
Yeah.
Stuff that people want but cannot get elsewhere, or not as easy, or whatever. But yeah, that's the big puzzle. Like, what's the missing piece?
Well, or maybe you're not going after, and just correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, but maybe you're not going directly after Intercom directly enough. And I know that you don't want to. I know you don't want to build a chat widget and be like a, customer support and all of that, but stop overpaying for Intercom. It could be
the problem
angle.
with that is
what's the problem with that?
Intercom, and I might have said this a couple of times on the podcast, I don't even remember, but Intercom does so many things that it's super hard to position yourself as an alternative, because you're I guess most people are not using all, probably almost no one is actually using everything of Intercom.
Exactly. Yeah.
But a weird mix of things. And we replace a very specific part of Intercom, but nothing else. And that makes it super hard to pitch it like that, because a lot of people will come to the website or read the ad or whatever, be like, oh, nice. And then read up on it and realize it only replaces half of what they use, or 2/3 of what they use, but not that other part. So using Userlist wouldn't actually get them off of Intercom, because they also have to figure out the solution for that missing part. And that makes it, at least in my understanding, super challenging to actually use messaging like that.
do you have any idea? Do you have any idea how many happy user list customers switched over from Intercom? Is it like 2 or is it like 30?
More like a handful, not a lot.
Okay.
Especially for that reason, because we don't have live chat, we don't have to support stuff.
Yeah.
Those are the main parts.
Yeah. No, I mean, I know I'm not, talking through anything you haven't,
Yeah. I mean,
thought of, but like, that's why, IA Writer is better than Microsoft Word.
Yeah.
And because specifically it doesn't do everything.
Yeah.
And it definitely feels like everybody knows right now that Intercom costs too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. And but through some research, are you able to kind of draw a line around? I mean, that's the puzzle to solve, isn't it? Is like which 9 things do you draw a line around?
Yeah, that's exactly the thing you have to figure out.
Yeah.
If we go down that route of just directly competing with Intercom. There's also that angle of like right now we don't only do like post sign up communication, like onboarding emails, lifecycle emails.
Yeah.
But there's also the option of just like opening that up like to like pre-sign up communication and just like instead of trying to compete with Intercom, like compete with Drip and Customer IO.
Yep.
And just like try to offer that part. And it doesn't sound like a wrong idea. Like the problem is like all of the possible directions we have in mind don't sound like the wrong idea. I mean, some do more than others, but like the question is which one do we pick and how fast can we execute on them? Because we're running out of time in a way, and we have to make the right decision, I guess.
I mean, it's the whole thing of, I mean, bootstrapping, whether you're, self-funded or whether you're startup with VC funding. The game is how many experiments can you run before you run out of time?
Yeah.
And do you find the right one? Yeah. Good luck, dude.
Thank you. Well, Jane said it like this: like it's just a big puzzle that we have to figure out. It's not unsolvable. Others have done this before. It's just a matter of time and effort. So we'll get there. It's just not a fun thing to do.
Yeah. Well, anything else going on over there that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I talked about getting my feet wet on Upwork last week. Tried that a little bit more. I wrote down like a long description of what the task of building the Laravel package entails, and broke it down into steps. And I talking to people and like, hey, this is what we have in mind, but like for now, just focus on step 1. And it just didn't work at all.
No go.
I specifically put the super simple thing as step 1. At least that's what I consider as super simple, and started asking people for estimates. And if I do this myself, my estimate would be that it probably take me an hour or 2 to do it.
This one step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Granted, like I know exactly what I want, so yeah, sure. I think the lowest estimate I got was 3 times what I had in mind. Like 6 to 8 hours was the lowest estimate, but I also heard like 16, 18, 24 hours.
What was their explanation for that?
that's how long it takes. Like, you're asking us to do this, and this is how long it takes. That was mostly the explanation I got. And at some point, like, I got in a discussion with one of the people, and at some point I just was like, F it, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to time myself. So I started a timer, implemented the step myself, and I think at 50 minutes I was like, okay, this is in a state where if they had done it, I'd sign off on it, and after like an hour and 15 minutes or so, it was done.
Okay.
And I even learned like how to do mocking PHP unit and stuff stuff I've never done before. And I mean, that's exactly
Benedikt,
why I wanted to hire someone.
Does that make you like really dislike Upwork, or does it make you feel really good about yourself? You are like a 10x developer.
Yeah,
Benedikt.
I'm a 10x developer.
That's frustrating, because it does show that it's not that your spec was off, and it's not that you were being wildly optimistic and unrealistic.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, sure. Yeah, I know. I roughly knew what I wanted to do there and wanted to see there. But I would have been fine with 4 hours maybe. And in hindsight, maybe even the 6 hours. Even the 6 hours were probably fine. But
figuring in some ramp up time.
Yeah.
In that.
But that was the one guy who already had like 4 hours of ramp up time to just like look at the code and play around with it. So I figured in total it would be 10. So yeah, I don't know. Long story short, I decided to not continue.
Up on Upwork.
Yeah, okay. I'm giving up on Upwork.
Yeah.
I mean, we might have just like looked at like too cheap of developers on there. Maybe we should have like set a higher price. But my next step, and I did this yesterday, was look at arc.dev. It's Code Mentor's freelancer platform. And it shows them, because back in the day when I was freelancing and didn't find anything like new work, I signed up for them on the freelancer side of things and went through their vetting process. So I roughly knew what was required to get on there. And we posted a job there yesterday, but so far no one sent a request or applied for it. So
is it just a really small pool still, because it's more difficult to be accepted?
I don't know.
Okay. I've not heard of arc.dev. Yeah, that's a new one.
Yeah, they renamed it. It was Code Mentor X before.
Okay.
Maybe the pool is too low. I don't know. I probably should have gone suspicious when they wanted a fee to post a job. So they take a cut when you hire someone, because payment is through them, and they also wanted a fee, and probably maybe that's an indication that they try to get their money ahead of time. Let's see. I mean, we're keeping this up a couple more days and see if someone applies. And maybe we're going to try TopTal as well. But
yeah,
I mean, at some point, it becomes like the hourly rates become expensive.
Yeah.
But then again, I'd rather pay someone a lot per hour and have it done in 10 hours than pay someone not a lot and have it done in, I don't know, 50 hours. And I'd actually enjoy getting it quicker when the final price is probably the same. So yeah, that's the one big story that has been happening on the small,
man.
Yeah, on the small wins. Finally working on company automations this week. Looking good so far. And after a year of talking about this and planning and research and whatnot, we finally launched alternative 2 pages on our website. there is now a Userlist versus Intercom and Userlist versus Customer.io and Userlist versus, I think, 20 other tools pages on our website.
Right on.
It's an achievement, but it's ridiculous that it took us more than a year to do this. Because I remember, I think it was Johnny Platt of SEO Scout, who I was talking to on the bus to Dubrovnik and for MicroConf, and he was like, "Yeah, you should really do this. That's really that works. That's good for SEO and stuff like that." And we're like, "Yeah, sounds about right. Probably not that hard to do." Took us a year.
What took so long? Just other things priority wise, or was there some blocker?
Other things, just
priorities,
other things happening.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't have a good excuse, to be honest. but finally it's out there. And they could probably be improved, but it's a starting point.
It's a start. Yeah. I mean,
hopefully we show up in
0 to 1 is the best part. Yeah. Or the most important part. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that was one of the achievements of the week.
Congrats.
Yeah. That's it on my side. What's going on your side of?
I feel like, I was talking last week just about how I'm fully, I just need I need a reset, in 2021, just in mindset, approach, everything.
Yeah.
And just really feeling like I need to be on a team, or I need a team, be a part of a team, etc. And there are two things that are going on that just illustrate that for me, times 100. The first is that this new consulting contract that I got, this new project I'm working on. I'm working with an old friend again. The team around us is really sharp, really good, and it's also that it's new and novel. That's part of it for sure. But just I really like being part of a fully fledged out team and contributing to it, like having a role in it. And I've just been observing that and noticing that how this just feels fun. I'm just over the solo thing. And the other is that I've mentioned before, like I've been kind of tinkering around with, a bucket list item of mine is to design and publish a board game. And so I've just been like thinking of this idea and just completely stuck on it. It's basically the idea that it's a cooperative game. One player is a lost hiker and the other players are a search and rescue team trying to find the hiker. And so like trying to sort out the mechanics. How do you have two maps where the players are blind to each other? And I've just been like wrestling with it and in the vacuum of my own head for weeks. I mentioned it to a friend the other day, and like we've been going back and forth on Google Docs and Sheets and basically have a nearly playable version ready. And nice. I was just like, oh man, this is what it is like to have a co-founder. Is you go back to the document and there's a ton of stuff there that you didn't do. And that now inspires, new thoughts. And so those two things had like just being able to observe those two things was just like this is what I'm missing. This is what I've been talking about, is a team that I feel like I have a good role on, and like a co-designer, co-founder that is attached to the same project and idea and wants to push it forward. So just a couple of like anecdotal things there. So what that means for what that means for what I'm going to be doing, what it means for Headlamp, I don't exactly know, and I'm not trying to put any pressure on myself to have an answer to that, like, next week or this year. but the implication of it is I feel like I have gotten the answer. Do I want to keep pushing as a solo founder? No. Like it's where it has worn me down. And it's not my best version of me.
Mm-hmm.
And so so I'm just going to let that, simmer there and just be what it is, and I'm not going to put any pressure on myself. This new contract is a great win, because it basically requires, part-time commitment for full-time pay. And so that just relieves a ton of pressure. And so I'm just going to let that be exactly what it is. And see if I'm able to sort of refuel by resting here for a bit. So that's kind of where those things are at.
Sounds like a good plan, especially like the part-time commitment for full pay aspect of it.
Not a bad gig.
And also like that you're like basically letting go of relieving the pressure of like having to do this on your own, and by that you're probably more open to new opportunities because you're not committed to any one thing, and but basically in waiting mode, ready for whatever good opportunity presents itself.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't feel the pressure to be a hamster in a wheel right now, and I am open to opportunities, and we'll see if anything comes along. Also, and also still trying to completely reassess my habits around technology and my phone, social media. I went in and unfollowed everybody on Twitter. So no, don't take it personally, and nobody take it personally. Twitter is almost useless if you don't follow a single person. And so that has been great. Just like no reason for me to go to Twitter. And so, and I don't know. I think I'll probably, reset my password and, give it to my wife and just bail out of there for a while. And just kind of continue to just get some rest from all of this. It's been a lot. So we'll see where it lands. But right now I'm feeling great. I feel great.
Yeah. I mean, that's the important part. It's not like you're missing out on a lot on Twitter these days.
Yeah, I have wondered, but figure anything extremely important, I'll hear about one way or the other. So
for sure.
All right. I mean, so yeah, that's me. I won't have very many like big updates, I think, for the rest of this year. I will really look forward to conversations like this one with you, talking through what is going on for you. How do you think through X, Y, and Z? So and I appreciate this. I really look forward to these conversations. So that's what I'll be doing for a little while here.
I enjoy the conversations as well. Your input is usually super valuable, and you're asking the right questions, and that gets me thinking while I'm awake.
Yeah. We should. I told you before we started recording, but I'm not sure if I said it out loud here. Is that I also woke up like several hours before I typically do, and couldn't go back to sleep. So we should both just hit stop recording and go to sleep. Here's the last thing. I'm going to go to saaspodcastawards.com to see if we've been, I guess they haven't released nominations yet. So who knows if we've been nominated or not. Benedikt, you're in the future over there in Germany, 7 hours ahead of the world.
Unfortunately, I still don't know.
Not over there either? Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Well, this time next week we'll know, and we'll have plenty more to chat about then. Unless anything else on your side?
No, that's it.
Cool. All right, man. Great catching up. Talk next week.
See you. Bye.